If you're a passionate enthusiast photographer, then the 80D is the perfect next step in your creative journey. In this video, we're going to have a closer look at some of the buttons and features on the 80D. Let's get started. The 80D is one of Canon's mid-body sized cameras. You'll notice that there are quite a few buttons and features on this camera, and we're going to go through those in depth now. To start with, our on-off button is located at the top left, right beside the mode dial. Whilst we're there, let's talk about the mode dial. The mode dial on the 80D allows you to select between manual features and automatic settings. It is important to note that there is a locking button in the center of the dial. So to turn this dial, you need to press your finger in the center and then turn the dial. You can go in a clockwise or anti-clockwise direction to select the feature mode that you're after. Let's start with live view. At the top right hand side here, you'll notice a start stop button. To activate live view, you simply need to press the start button to activate, and then to cease live view, push it one more time. Also, this button has a second function. If you would like to take still photos, you'll notice that the rotational dial is selected to the white camera mode. By pushing to the left, we're able to activate into film or movie mode. The start stop button now acts as your start stop sequence for video. And then once we're finished and we want to go back to stills, we simply rotate that dial back to the stills shooting mode and continue. The 80D is also a touchscreen model camera. To be able to change some of the settings on the back screen, all we need to do first is press the Q button on the screen, then we can navigate with our finger to the setting we would like to change. A couple of the other buttons on the back of the 80D is playback. Once in playback, we can use the multi-rotational dial on the back to navigate through our photos, or we can simply use the touchscreen and swipe left or right. Also, whilst in playback, we have the trash button. This enables us to be able to remove photos that we no longer wish to use. Simply press the trash button, come across to erase, and confirm with the set button. The lock key is customizable. Out of the box, it will simply lock the rear rotational dial from moving, and you'll notice the word lock come up on the screen when you try to rotate that dial. You can also set in the custom functions of this camera for the lock key to lock all of the dials on the camera if you wish. Taking a look at the top right on the back, we have three buttons: AF on, exposure lock, and focus point change. We're going to go into those in detail in the next video. On the top left-hand side of the camera, you'll also notice a menu and info button. The menu allows us to change camera settings, and info allows us to cycle through the screen settings, such as if I would like an electronic leveler. The last button to go over on the rear of the camera is the wheel. This wheel defaults to change aperture when you're in manual, and we'll talk more about that later. But in playback, it also allows you to go forwards and backwards simply by rotating the dial. Within that wheel is a multi-direction joystick, up, down, left and right, easily giving you navigation tools within the menu systems and playback functions. The last button there to mention is set, and set is like OK. Once we've made changes, we can use the set button to confirm that change. If you would like to change a setting on the rear of the camera quickly, you can also use the Q button here or the Q button in the bottom left-hand corner of the touchscreen. Once there, you can use your finger to simply touch the item you'd like to change on the touchscreen, or again use the navigation key up, down, left, right to navigate to the point where you would like to change and hit set to confirm. Let's take a closer look at the top of the 80D. Unlike some of the other EOS models, there is a second LCD screen at the top. This screen gives us vital shooting information such as shutter speed, aperture, ISO, the drive mode that the camera is in, and the AF metering type. Let's have a closer look at the buttons beside this screen. Firstly, let's look at the AF button. The AF button allows us to cycle between one shot, AI focus, and AI servo. A better explanation of these three modes will come in the next video. The next button to talk about is the drive key, located here next to AF. When we enable that button, it gives us some options such as single frame, multiple burst frame, silent shooting, 10-second and 2-second self-timers. The next key to mention is the ISO key. This allows us to customize our ISO settings. We can even choose automatic if we want to. The last key on top is our metering key. By pushing this key, it allows us to change our metering modes from evaluative, partial, spot metering, and center weighted. We're going to talk more about those modes in the next video. The last key to mention on top is the little light bulb key. This turns on an orange illumination on the top screen to allow you to see it in the dark. Another key to mention on top of the camera is the scroll wheel. This key in manual mode defaults to shutter speed changes. It also allows us left and right rotation through menu options. Also found at the front of the camera is the shutter release key. This key has two functions, firstly to focus and secondly to shoot. The last key to mention is the autofocus selection key. This allows us to go through the 4 different pre-selected autofocus point modes the camera has. Like many EOS cameras, you also have an optical viewfinder, which allows you to place the camera to your face and look through the lens. At the bottom of the screen in the optical viewfinder, you'll find some important shooting information, such as shutter speed, aperture, ISO, and exposure. If when looking through the viewfinder, it's not a clear image that you see, we also have an adjustable diopter up to the right-hand side of the viewfinder. You simply adjust this until that text becomes clear. Another one of the great features is the flip screen. It allows us to be able to turn this screen around on itself to be able to view the screen from the front of the camera. We can also rotate this screen to get low or high within frame, and also be able to pack it upon itself to avoid scratches on the screen when packed in the bag. To open, we simply lift the screen away from the camera, rotate accordingly, and we're good to go. Just having another look at the top of the camera, you'll also notice the hot shoe. This is here for speed lights and external microphones. This model is also equipped with an inbuilt flash. To activate the flash, you will find a flash release key on the left-hand side of the body. Simply push, the flash will pop. Once the flash is popped, to turn it off, we simply close it with our finger. Like all Canon EOS cameras, we are able to change the lens. Simply locate the lens release key with your thumb, push, turn the lens in an anti-clockwise direction, and the 2 parts will separate. You'll notice on the front of the body we have a red and white dot for reference. When looking at your lens, you'll either have a red or white dot for reference again. When you match the 2 up, you're able to then turn your lens in a clockwise direction, you'll hear a click, and your lens change is complete. A couple of other little plugs on the side of the 80D allows us to accessorize our camera a little further. Firstly, you'll notice down the bottom a plug for a remote release cable. Just above that, we have a microphone input and a headphone output, handy for the video makers. And behind that, you will also find a USB connection and mini HDMI connection. Just down the bottom right-hand side here behind the hand grip, you will find another little button. This here serves as a depth of field preview button. By pressing this button, it stops the lens down to the desired aperture that you have set to give you a realistic view of what the photo is going to look like through the viewfinder. To put a memory card in your 80D, you will find a memory card door behind the hand grip. Simply push backwards on it and release, and then push on the card to remove. It's the exact opposite to put it back in. Push it in until you hear a click, and then the door closes, ready to go. The battery on this model is located in the bottom of the camera. Simply put your fingernail in the release lever and open the compartment. There's a little white locking lever which will retain the battery in place. Popping the battery back in is the reverse. Simply locate with the arrow leading forwards into the camera, push till you hear the click, close the door, and we're ready to go. Another modern feature the 80D has is wireless communication, whether that be by NFC or via Wi-Fi. You can find how to connect your Wi-Fi in another video in the link below. I hope this little video has helped you understand a little bit more about your 80D. If you'd like to join me in the next video, we're going to go through a few more of the advanced features of this model.